to put people in fear, in stress, in forms of hatred, guilt, frustration, all these emotions that, of course, the system elicits from us all the time, are within the frequency range of the moon matrix. And that the idea is to hold us in that so that we become its, basically, its computer terminals. And what is beginning to happen is people are starting to awaken from that previous state of consciousness, if you like, that suppressed state of consciousness. And as they do so, they're withdrawing, not overnight, but they're slowly but surely starting to withdraw their connection to that moon matrix in the way they did before. Now, one of the biggest connections to it is through what we call the reptilian brain, the R complex, as scientists call it. And as they do so, the influence of that moon matrix is getting less and less powerful upon them. And as that happens, they're starting to see and perceive things that they didn't see before. And this is what's happening with this increasingly obvious awakening around the world of increasing numbers, vastly increasing numbers of people who are starting to see themselves and the world in a completely different way. It's because the influence of this moon matrix, this fake reality we're being fed, is losing its power as we awaken to another level of consciousness, therefore another frequency that doesn't connect with this moon matrix like our previous state of being did. And what I find interesting too, because all these movies are so symbolic, these people control Hollywood, is that in the Matrix movies, of course, people laid back in those seats, and there was something inserted in the back of their brain, the back of their heads, and that connected them to the Matrix, if you remember. Well, that's the reptilian brain where that thing went in, and I say that is where, overwhelmingly, we are connected to the moon matrix. And I would also say that the reptilian brain, the R complex, where we get our emotional reactions from, our survival reactions from, fight or flight and all these things, we get in a real emotional mess when we're dominated by the reptilian brain. I say that the fundamental part of the genetic manipulation that the ancients talk about was manipulating the dominance of the reptilian brain upon the human brain. And it was basically, if you break it down into computer parlance, and it's very relevant that we should when you look at it, the way the body works, the reptilian brain is like a giant microchip which is connected, or receiver, transmitter, microchip, whatever you want to call it, which is designed to pick up the moon matrix and feed us this false reality.
Wow, absolutely riveting information, David. Getting into the title of your book, I found that very interesting, and I'm wondering if that's relating to this mass awakening that you're talking about, and I myself have actually noticed. Human race, get off your knees. Lion sleeps no more. What inspired you to title your new book that?
Well, the first book I ever wrote after my initial conscious awakening, if you like, 20 years ago, was actually called The Truth Vibrations. And I called it that because even in those early days, very early days, I was picking up a very clear theme. And that is that a vibrational change was coming, and it was going to act like a spiritual alarm clock that was going to wake up the human race from its amnesia, its coma that it's been put in. And I say it's been put in that coma by the moon matrix. Now, as the years passed, I have more and more symbolized these truth vibrations, as I call them, this awakening vibrational change, as a lion. And so the lion symbolism in the book is multi-leveled. On one level, I'm symbolizing the lion as these truth vibrations that are acting like the awakening spiritual alarm clock. But on another level, it's symbolic of the true human emerging. The human race getting off its knees, ceasing to be a sheep, and to become the lion, the controller of our own reality that we once were and are in the process of becoming again. Because what's happening at the moment is, as I said earlier, through the black holes, a resonance comes that is the base frequency of our reality at any point. But doesn't just stay like that. It goes through a cycle in which this vibration changes as it goes symbolically in a circle and then comes back to the original. So what happens as a result of that is, as this cycle unfolds, there are times of awakening and there are times of suppression. And in the greater scheme of things, what we're experiencing here is a cosmic game. It's for consciousness to experience different situations and to play with reality. And you can come in at a certain point on the cycle and you can experience a great suppression, what you might call the dark time, or you can come in at another time and if you're of the right vibrational state that can sync with it, what the ancients have called the golden age. They all talk about that. Well, that golden age was a period of this cycle unfolding, and then it goes into another cycle. And we are now at the cusp of moving out of a really dark period, the darkest period in the cycle, into a great new cycle of awakening, of love, of balance, of the end of manipulation, the end of the malevolence, the end of the devious nature of the society that we've been living in. And we're living through this cusp. And as a result, there are those that are tuning into this awakening energy, what I call the truth vibrations, and they're starting to transform dramatically the way they see themselves in the world and world events. There are others who are still tuned to the old vibration because we're in the process where one's replacing the other, but there are two still available at this time. And this is where I talk about in my books and my talks about the parting of the ways, the fork in the road, where we've been given the choice. Are we going to go down that road to the true amazing nature of who we really are? You know, genius who've forgotten we're genius. Infinite possibility who've forgotten we're infinite possibility, who think we're Joe Bloggs and Ethel Smith. Or are we going to continue down this track, this fork in the road, in which case it's going to be a very, very dark road indeed for people that take that road, because they're just going to go into a point where not only into a very unpleasant experiences, but in the end, experiences that lead to total destruction, because if the energy they're tuned to is being replaced by another one, and they can't tune to the other one because of their state of being, they're still in hatred and fear and all this stuff, well, they can't exist in this reality anymore, because the energy or the information construct that they are connected to is no longer going to exist in this reality, because we're going into this new cycle. And people have talked about things about the age of Aquarius. They talk about 2012 and the Great Transformation. I think the old 2012 thing is a diversion. And we shouldn't get too focused on that, because these guys are going to manipulate 2012 for their own ends. But what is absolutely true is by 2012, these vibrational changes will be more powerful than they are now in 2013, 2014, even more, 2016, even more. And we're now going into a period, and I can see it so clearly as I observe the world and even the community in the town where I live. There is this dramatic division starting to be so blatantly clear between what I call the schism people, those that are tuned to the old cycle, and these awakening people that are tuning to the new cycle that's now very, very fast emerging. And it's no accident, you see, that it's as this is happening that the Illuminati and those guys in the moon are now, at this point of all points, throwing everything at us in terms of Orwellian control, manipulating us through food and drink, manipulating us through electromagnetic pollution.